Welcome into Monday Mornings with Matt and Kevin here on the Catholic Family Podcast. These two will debate real-life issues from a Catholic perspective every Monday at 9 Eastern. Topics that come up around the dinner table will be given the truth treatment with no punches held and no falsehood left standing. Sit back, relax, grab your cup of coffee, and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Matt and Kevin.
Oh, it's a Monday morning, and everyone's kind of expecting me to be opening the show with like barfing noises. I'm pretty sure, I mean, kind of like, puking in the background after having done my carnivore diet. And I have to be fully honest here, guys. And I'm sorry to Dr. Maliakel, all you other carnivore fans. I lasted 2.5 days, and I just could not do it. It was too greasy. My stomach, I had stomach problems the entire time. I'm not going to go into the details anyway. Things were flowing smoothly. Let's just say that, too smoothly. And it wasn't pleasant. I honestly kind of hated it. And even the meals were okay. But after the first day, I was like, oh, this is kind of strange, just meat. Second day, I was like, oh, I don't like this. And then the third day, I was like, no, dude, I can't do it. Like, my body just didn't want to do it. I am certainly not saying that it's not good for anyone. I think some people, it's probably good. I know people who love it. Maybe it's body type. Maybe it's just being tough enough. I don't know, but I don't want to do it. And so if I still plan on doing a diet, I'm just going to cut sugar and junk food and pretty much eat a healthy diet with only one portion. So pretty much portion control and not eating junk. And that's proven to help me in the past. So
Did food gross you out during that time? Did meat gross you out? Just looking at it.
My last meal I ate, and it was good steak. I ate good steak, and I actually had bacon the last time with the steak. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, I felt like the entire rest of the day, I felt like I just had an entire, like a half a cup of bacon grease. That's what my body felt.
Oh, yeah.
My whole body felt
I've been there.
Blah, just
so
like
nasty.
Oh, just greasy. And it was funny because I texted my brothers. We're in this group, and I texted them like, "Yeah, okay, I did my lunch for the third day, and I felt kind of bad." And they're like, "What did you feel like? Greasy?" Like the one word was it greasy? It's like, man, that's exactly like greasy. Everything felt greasy. And Matt, I just got to say again, for me, again, purely my opinion. I know people really love this diet. To me, it didn't feel natural. It felt too extreme. It felt too far on one side, and I just didn't want to do it.
But did you have chicken though, or did you stick more like beef?
I had steak, and
you
I had mostly steak. I had some bacon, and I had a bit of pork. And I had eggs. I had eggs in the morning. And in the morning I had a bit of hard cheese. But no, I was...
So no chicken. Oh, you should have mixed that in a little bit.
I didn't do chicken. No.
But I get the feeling of that heavy bacon fat just sitting in your system there, and just kind of, you feel like it's clogging my arteries, and you feel it. Yeah, no, it wears you out. It does kind of wear you out a bit. Like there's that heavy feeling that goes along with it. I know.
You tried right?
Yeah. A while. I want to say 2020 or 2021. I'm trying to kind of imagine where that was in the COVID era thing, and I think it was kind of right in it. So but I didn't get sick over it though. I think I just stopped it because I had absolutely no willpower to deny other foods that day.
That was like Matt saw pasta in commercials.
Correct.
He was like shaking.
Correct. There's absolutely
jonesing for.
And it's funny because the first day or the first half day or whatever, you're so motivated. You're like, this is the new me. Yeah. The new me that's lasted about 5 hours. So
and I did. I gotta say, the rest of the week I did still not do. I didn't do sugar or alcohol or junk, and I did feel better by the end of the week. I had less inflammation and less stuff, and I think to me that's kind of the key. Give up the stuff. Give up the junk. Don't drink soda. Don't eat chips. Don't eat candy. And portion control. And I think to me that's
one thing that's rough. One thing that's... Oh, is that I don't know if that's... Me? Somebody's like really staticky.
Oh boy, that was okay. Actually, that's good you say that because that was the same with Father McKenna. Maybe it is me. That's terrible.
Let me just check my.
No, if there's see, I don't hear it, so it must be me. Man,
I think it's yours.
Okay, let me switch mics and tell me. No, that doesn't do it. Just a sec. Let's change. I think I need to buy a new mic. Sorry, everybody. How about that? Is that better? Same?
Yeah, you sound a little clearer.
Clearer?
Yeah, I think that fixed it. Yeah, there's no static.
Okay, nice.
There you go. Yeah, if anyone wants to donate one of those $1,000 microphones, right?
Yeah, guys,
you accept.
I'm on hard times, so donate to Catholic Family Podcast. Give me a really nice. Give me a Joe Rogan microphone. That'd be pretty cool. But I really do. I do have people who contribute to the show, and they don't deserve having staticky podcasts. So I appreciate that, people. Everyone who's listening, I do understand
that something
has recently been a problem. I do need a new microphone. I've been using this GarageBand microphone for 2.5 years. And it's been pretty good, but might be time. It might be time to get an actual mic where I don't have to hold it. So Matt, if I don't have to hold a microphone, I'm going to be like I don't know. Like
you said it keeps your hands up.
I'm terrible. Keeps my hands have to be doing something. But again, that's a tick. I need to fix that. It's a lack of self-control.
You want to just one more thing really quick with food. One thing that I've had happen though, Kev, with me is like I'll eat something not good for me, and then it takes me like almost a week to get over it, and I don't know what the root cause even is anymore. It's like, all right, if I ate some chips on Monday and like had McDonald's on Monday, and I don't feel good until Saturday, 5-6 days later, like what even did it for? Like it's hard to even pinpoint. Like it's very hard to. You feel groggy for a week.
No,
I've been there, and then you go back in your mind, like what did I eat that did this to me, and you can't figure it out.
Often for me, it's
the fruit diet.
Often alcohol. It's beer, and I live in Bavaria, so it's very hard for me to not do it.
Of course, it's
I drink two or three beers at a fest, and I just get these terrible neck aches, and I just feel tired the rest of the week. It's just I get inflamed. I have neck problems, and it just goes straight to that, and it just affects it immediately. And it's just like, man, I just can't drink beer. It's terrible, man. My life is hard.
One more quick note: have you seen Caitlin Clark, Kev? I know we've talked about her on the show before. Have you seen what she is doing? She is having these phenomenal games.
She just double the other day. I saw.
Yeah. First time I believe a rookie has ever done that, and her team is like 9-13, and I believe that this is a team that won like 4, something really, really stupid last year. So she's making a difference. They beat. I don't really follow the sport all that much, but I every now and then I check in because of her, and they beat a team yesterday that was 17-3. The Liberty, I think they were. So she's having an impact. It takes time for players to jump in and to adjust, but I know you and I had talked about all this before, so I'm glad to see her doing well and leading her team to a lot of wins and
she's tough,
succeeding because she's tough. Right, she's tough. Pushed back and she gets
mugged on the court, and she just keeps going.
I don't know if you saw this play, but one of the opposing team members was on the free throw line. She took her free throw, and then after shooting a you saw this?
Yeah.
She jumped onto Caitlin Clark's face, and Clark jumped back up, and the whole court was like, you have another free throw. Like, she forgot that she had a second free. She jumped right in on her. But, man, I give her mental credit as well because she has literally been bashed over the head and beaten literally with this. Like, I think when Pius X wrote that modernists ought to be beaten with fists, that's a good example of looking at Caitlin Clark play basketball. And she has stood strong.
The other one was she was standing next to this other black player on the other team, and a rebound comes in. I think there was a foul or something, so the whistle was blown. A foul. The ball comes in, and it comes right towards the opposing player's head, and Clark kind of reaches over the player's shoulder and swats the ball away.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
But the opposing player didn't know the ball was coming, so she was kind of like looking at Caitlin Clark like, "Hey, what you doing? You trying to get in my face or whatever?" And Clark's like, kind of like just kind of walks away. But to the other girl's credit, she came back later. I think one of her teammates told her, "Was like, hey, you know that she was just kind of making sure the ball didn't hit you in the head." So Caitlin Clark was just being nice. He was just like, "The ball didn't hit this other girl in the head."
Right.
But it's an interesting thing, and I just think it's a I like it too. I don't like women's basketball, but I like it because I just think, and I don't know if she's a moral person. I mean, I don't know, but I like what she stands for. Just a basic good, nothing special, but just seems like a normal person with good skill who gets the job done. She's tough. And I think that's what Americans want, man. That goes back hundreds of years. Well, we just want someone who grinds it out, is tough, gets the job done, and doesn't talk too much. I think that is the old American.
She plays basketball, and that's it. This thing started with the whole the kneeling in the NFL thing. Like, people don't want to watch this and be fed all these political and social opinions. Like, play your sport, and she's done that really, really well. If you watch Caitlin Clark play, you're just getting a basketball game with no agenda.
And
no
I know
message.
anyone watching the show is like, these guys better shut up and stop talking about women's basketball, or they might be heretics or something. We had a couple comments last time like, "Hey guys, stay in your lane. Don't talk about. Stop shaming yourselves." Anyway, okay. I guess
I've gotten that mentioning Tulsi Gabbard for president about
how dare
a woman.
You?
Yeah. Yeah, not that she would be my overall top pick. The 18th, I don't know if you heard that, Kev, but the Trump campaign said July 18th, the VP will be.
I have no
announced.
idea, man. I mean,
and
now,
if it's me,
I think Trump's going to be president. I think he is. I think now. I think the Democrats. We didn't really. Talking about this, but
no, I know
they're done, man. They have no. There's nothing they can do. Biden.
If he chooses me, Kev, I resign my position here with you. It's been great 2 years, but if I'm the VP, I resign. Yes. Resign effective immediately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If I end up being it, I'm not prevented from. He could call me. My phone's on.
Yeah, exactly.
An occasional appearance. Maybe it'll be Taylor Marshall. Taylor Marshall and him were close at one point. I think they did a lot of. Maybe he'll surprise everybody and pick Taylor Marshall and then institute it.
My guess is it's going to be someone very. Bleh. I think it's going to be one of these. It's probably going to be one of these black.
Byron Daniels.
Congress. Yeah, exactly. Black congressman. That's it's okay. That's my guess. I'm not having high hopes.
You might be better off that way because people, if you look at I know we didn't plan about talking about this at all, but no matter who you name, that's a kind of a well-known name. People are very split. He should pick him. He should never pick him.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Even Vivek or even Ben Carson or even Rubio. Candace Owens said that if he picks Marco Rubio, then I'm not voting for Donald Trump. Candace Owens said that.
I get it.
So I think he might be right. I think he might be better off picking somebody who no one's ever heard of and just let him run on his own name. And
he doesn't need anyone else. And I think I would like Vivek. I'm actually not a big Vivek guy.
I think I would as well.
At least Vivek says all the things that are actually more Trumpian than Trump in a good way. So if he does what he says, then I would like that. Gabbard makes a ton of sense.
I do agree.
I like it, but it makes a lot of sense. I just think it's going to be one of these black Congress guys. I'm actually feeling pretty confident about it, but I just don't know which one.
See.
I'm not sure what it's going to be. But yeah, okay. So Matt and I, we want to do something a little interesting today, and we don't exactly know how it's going to go. There's been some stuff in the news lately in the last few days. I published something about Viganò, Archbishop, Father, whatever you want to call him, Bishop Viganò, perhaps. And it's controversial. People have different opinions on it, and people have different, approaches of what they want to happen, etc. And I understand that. I totally respect that. And so Matt and I, we wanted to kind of talk about it from I suppose different approaches. We wanted to perhaps even argue about it, but wanted to actually also show that you can have different opinions and still get along. It's okay.
As we've had.
As we have for years. I've always known that Matt is a thesis guy, and Matt's always known that I'm a quote unquote totalist guy, quote unquote thesis, quote unquote totalist, and it's fine.
Whatever we are.
I have had people say, really, Matt, really, he's he's a thesis guy. It's like, I don't care.
Really, there's whispering.
It's like, wait, he's what? If you said you're a WNBA fan, then I probably would dump you. That's probably true. I'd be like, nah, okay, next.
Not even NBA. College, for college. One thing here's to kind of maybe start it off. One thing that's really funny was that as soon as the excommunication came out, which what was that, July 5th? Maybe I think it was.
Yeah.
I texted Mario and I said, this was early in the morning, and I said, I'm just thinking of, as I say this, I'm thinking of Cardinal Zen calling Michael Lofton a big guy with a little beard. Anyway, who would have thought that we would have woken up to that headline? But no, I texted Mario and I was like, I gotta say, for all his inclusiveness and everyone, the gazes and the mosaics and all that, Bergoglio is very heavy with the hammer. And he's a lot more decisive than Benedict ever was. And so I know Bishop Sanborn did a emergency, he called it an emergency episode about this and said similar things as to what I said there. And I think it was Bishop Sanborn who said, if Bergoglio was truly Catholic and was actually the Pope, he would probably be pretty effective. And then so what I did was I pulled up some headlines. And the list is long, Kev. Just some things that I found was Pope dismisses conservative Strickland out of Texas. Cardinal Burke, who is a critic of Francis, removed from the Vatican offices. Bergoglio silences critics in dismissing the Latin Mass. Vigano excommunicated for alleged schism. These are things that he's laid down the hammer and pretty decisively several times. Benedict did not do that I can recall anyway. He was nowhere. He was far more, for somebody who is so quote unquote rigid, he was far more accommodating, I feel like, than Francis. Francis has shown that really any strict, firm opposition to him will get you punished. And I think that if he was actually Catholic and if he was the Pope, he'd be pretty effective. Do you have any thoughts on that at first?
Yeah, I mean,
it would take a mind. It would take a mind shift of his. But has he not hammered his critics? I think he's been pretty hard on them.
True. I mean, here's my thought on that. I mean, I would never ever say that God's grace can't be enough. So let's keep that in mind. I'm not saying that at all. God can absolutely work His grace on everyone. Anyone can convert. Look at St. Paul, Constantine, etc. That's absolutely the case. But I would say that Bergoglio converting would be like saying Stalin can become a conservative. I just think it's not impossible.
Well,
and if Stalin, let's just say Stalin became the president of America through some miracle, whatever, he'd get a lot done. That's absolutely true. But it's not in a good way. I mean, he'd do it through authoritarian, probably evil means. And so I see where Bishop Sanborn is coming with that, but I think it's just looking at him as being a character who is very harsh and extreme, and will I see what Bishop Sanborn is saying. He has these beliefs, and he really will work towards them, and that's true. But I don't think you can say that if he was traditionalist, it would be the same, because it's like saying again, it's like saying Stalin would become, I don't know, George Washington.
Well, I think his personality, maybe because Pope Paul IV was extremely aggressive and was extremely authoritarian in his governance of the church, and I just feel like if Bergoglio, I mean, think about it though, what the things that he has done, not only with disciplining prominent names, not everybody. We've wondered why some men like Schneider seem to get a pass and others don't, but he has really wiped out a lot of things, and he has even said, and they've acknowledged that there are documents in place to literally wipe out the Latin Mass. And I think his ploy to keeping the Institute of Christ the King, the Fraternity of St. Peter, in the so-called Vatican II Church is that he's kind of been friendly to them. But I think that if he really wanted to wipe it out, he absolutely would do that. I don't think Benedict had that. And I get your point. I get what you're saying there. But I think Bergoglio's temperament, maybe, or his personality, is a lot more. Remember, people went to go kiss his ring and he pulled it back, or he slapped people's hands. Like, just his temperament overall is very different from Benedict, who is a lot more soft and a lot more gentle and a lot more soft spoken, and maybe even taken advantage of in a lot of ways that I don't think Bergoglio really is. And I mean, I get your point. I see what you're saying, that would it serve the church well if he was Catholic? I don't know, but I think that it would be, I think he would see a lot of the things that should be taking place, such as James Martin, what all that being pushed out. I think he would certainly lay down the hammer a bit more. I think he would wipe clean. There's all these so-called conservatives who are wanting nothing more than this Latin Mass for the last however many years. And he's, for the most part, said, quiet. I'm doing what I want to do here. And for sake of so-called unity of the church. If you read Traditionis Custodes, for the sake of unity of the church, this has to go. And in that aspect, he's right.
Well, that's what I want to ask you, Matt. And before we're going to get a little into the thesis, guys. I do want to preface this by saying that I'm no expert.
We are not trained experts.
Exactly. Matt's no expert on it. If truly, very sincerely, if you want to learn about the thesis or totalism, go and find. There's plenty of info, especially on the thesis. Go and check out traditionalcatholic.org. I think it is, from Bishop Sanborn. Follow them on Twitter. Check out Father Le Toronto. He has good subject matter. I think CMRI has a little bit, CMRI.org, but what we know a little bit, we have enough that I think it's an interesting conversation. And again, part of it, I want to talk about it or even argue about it, because I want to, again, make it really clear that these things are okay to disagree on. It's okay to disagree on this. It's okay to have different opinions on it, but let's not get personal, and let's not make it like, oh, well, Matt disagrees. Matt holds the thesis, so he's less Catholic. I certainly don't believe that, and I don't think Matt believes that about me, and I think that's really important to know, and I don't think everyone acts like that, and I think that's a shame, and I think that absolutely every single Catholic should strive for unity, and I think that absolutely does mean the SSPX, because I do think many people in the SSPX are actually Catholic. They are holding the wrong positions, but they are Catholic. Catholic means to be baptized and to hold the true teachings of the Catholic Church. Many of them are trying to do their best, right? I think that's true. But Matt, real quickly, so before you can answer that in a second, but I want to get back to what you're saying about Bergoglio, because I think this is a really key problem I have with the thesis, and I don't know if you can answer it, but I want to talk about it. So if Bergoglio, just all of a sudden, who is this, this dynamo for right now for evil, let's just say he comes out tomorrow, hypothetically, but let's just say he comes out tomorrow and he says, guys, I had a dream or a vision, and Christ came and he told me what I had to do, and now I've seen the truth. I'm going to go right now. I'm going to burn all the documents of Vatican II. I'm going to overturn everything. Everything is going to be as it was in the time of Pius XII or even beforehand. And he does that publicly. Let's just say he does it. Like let's just say hypothetically, he does all of that. How do we know that he is being sincere? Who determines that? You? Me? Bishop Sanborn? Who accepts?
Well, I don't think
that.
I would say that I don't know if that would even genuinely matter. Because so we say that he is given the claim to the title, because the only way that a pope is ever a pope again is because the electors on earth have to elect it. And that was my original hiccup, because I originally was completely opposed to the thesis. I thought it was kind of silly. I thought it made absolutely no sense, and I wondered how this false religion and all of that could kind of blend and intertwine with the mystical body of Christ. And even there's a phrase from Bishop Gare de Laurier, who wrote the thesis. He actually said that some of the things that I say here burn my lips, they burn my tongue. It hurts me to say them, but I have to acknowledge what I believe is reality here rather than what my personal opinion is. So I mean, how would we know it's true? I mean, I guess we can only assume that his intentions were true by his actions. We wouldn't know his heart, of course, but if he does publicly burn the documents of Vatican II and does publicly repudiate the entire council and wipes all that out and professes the Catholic faith publicly, then what he does in his private capacity as an individual wouldn't be that much of a concern to us. And I think that's
not the question. Who accepts it? So if he does that, who tells?
I think there would be people. I think there would be people who, if that were to happen, I think there would be a split. I do think that people would say, myself being in this group, that Francis is now the Supreme Pontiff, because I think he has claim to that title. There would be people. You don't have to be. You can get. Anybody can be elected. He would have to receive his orders, but he can receive the title. And then there would be people who would say no, that he's not the Pope. And then I think that in and of itself would cause certainly a split. But what we would see is that one, he has that material claim to the papacy, and then now he publicly, I don't know about as a private individual who's maybe withholding intent, but publicly he's professed to do these things and to reign as supreme pontiff. His sincerity, I don't really know. I don't know if anyone has kind of like a crystal ball to kind of determine that, but we would then believe that with those two things that he would receive the infallibility of the papacy. And I don't know. I think because, I mean, there's nothing that says an unsentenced heretic can't enjoy jurisdiction, even papal jurisdiction. So he has that claim to it. And I think there's
I got to interrupt there. There are
things
that say that you can be ipso facto outside the church. So that is it's kind of an opinion.
Yes,
statement,
but there's
right?
but there's no definitive.
It's not
even
definitive.
Bellarmine said the sentence has to happen because we're not a mob, right? So the reason why is because if we're pointing at an individual, right? What happens if I say, Kev, he is outside the church, and you are a liberal, progressive, and all those things, and you say, no, he's inside the church.
Right.
Well, now you and I are at now whose opinion trumps whose. Just like with Scripture, the church needs to actually exercise her canonical authority and say, here's the final result. That way you and I could actually definitively say that this man is outside the church. Even with Martin Luther, you could say that, like, he's outside the church. He was outside the church. What if people said, no, he's still in the church. He's still in the church, until the church declared her sentence and said, this man is definitively outside the church, and we exercise this with our authority and law. Now there is no debate about it. You and I can't disagree anymore. The canonical sentence has been set. And that's the thing that even with, and I'm sort of bridging this back a little bit, but what would you say if people, because I was in this boat as well, where I was completely in the Vatican II religion, but I didn't call myself a Novus Ordoite. I didn't call myself a Vatican IIist. I called myself Catholic, and I professed all of the beliefs of the Catholic faith. And I tried at one point to kind of wed the pre and post Vatican II, count. You try to say, well, I see a difference here, but there's got to be some way where there's continuity. There's a flow between the two. I never joined a sentenced sect. As I said, I didn't call myself a Novus, or I didn't even know what that was. I called myself Catholic because my full intention was to be Catholic, the church that Christ founded, and outside of which there's no salvation. These are the things that I believed, even when attending the new mass. So I think there is that to recognize that this crisis is very unique because there is still that claim to people being Catholic who canonically, they are. Juridically, they are. They don't profess to be Lutherans. They don't call themselves Vatican IIists. They call themselves Catholic, and they will tell you that Francis goes all the way back to Peter. They will say that.
But I got to stop you there. So I'm with you, Matt, though. But sorry.
Okay. No. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. But I just got to interrupt because it's true that each person, you, the individual, I would never judge that, and God only judges what someone actually holds. Again, if you're baptized and you hold what you believe to be Catholic, I assume God will judge that as being Catholic. That is a separate issue. So, but the issue being, so let's look at Vigano or Bergoglio. So, and this is from Bishop Sanborn as well. So Bishop Sanborn would say, I believe, again, tell me if I'm wrong, that they are not part of the Catholic Church because they teach publicly a religion that is contrary to the Catholic Church.
Of course.
Which means they publicly do it. And that is, of course, Bergoglio, and I would say absolutely Vigano. He was part of this Novus Ordo Church for 60 years. So he publicly taught that. He was part of this entire. He was not. So Vigano is not Joe Schmo. He's not Matt. He's not Kevin. He's not just some guy who's trying to be Catholic. He is part of the big machine that is the ape of the church, which is what you and I would say, and so Bishop Sanborn would say, and everyone else. So I think that's where I think it gets to be kind of, you're talking out two sides of your mouth in that argument where it's kind of, I'm not saying you, but I mean the argument being,
sure.
It's like, well, you can't, no one can judge this, but oh, by the way, if they teach anything that's not Catholic, they are no longer part of the Catholic Church. Oh, but Vigano is a hero, and because he just all of a sudden, is excommunicated, he is Saint Athanasius. And I'm sorry, I just don't, and I'm an optimistic person. I think people who listen to the show know that. I like optimism. I do not think we are in the dark days. I do think we will find peace and truth at some point. I hope God will bring it to us. But I don't think it's a fair thing to say that someone who's been part of the quote-unquote magisterium of the Novus Ordo, which everybody says is the ape of the Church of Christ, it is the Novus Ordo, and to say all of a sudden that he just says, no, I'm not anymore. Oh, he's wonderful. And would it be the same if Bergoglio did it too? Just all of a sudden, one day to the next, It's a miracle. He's one of us. Says who? Says who? Who says Vigano? How do we know? What Vigano comes out tomorrow, Matt, and says, Jinx, sorry guys, gotcha. I'm not. We don't know.
That could happen. He's not the Pope.
This?
But I think, though, something to look back on is somebody like him is unique because, unlike you and I, he was born prior to the council and he lived prior to the council. So when because he was ordained a priest in 68, so we would say his orders are valid.
Yes.
But if you even go back, so let's say he's of the age of reason. He's 10 years old, which I don't know. I forget the year he was born. Maybe 1950-ish, 40-ish, 50-ish. So let's say it's 1950.
46, maybe something like that. Yeah.
So let's say, all right. So let's say it's 1956 or whatever. What religion would you say that he was?
Catholic.
He was a Catholic. When did he abrogate the Catholic religion and join the sentence?
According to Bishop Sanborn, when he taught a faith opposite the Catholic. So Bishop Sanborn himself says, the church is not the church, not because of personal heresy, but because they teach a contrary religion to the Catholic faith. Vigano was part of that. He was the one teaching it. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say that you're not Catholic because you teach it, and then say the person who taught it is part of the church. Matt, I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense.
But there's no.
I'm calming down, guys. I'm calming down.
It's almost like we're talking about what was the other thing? The SSPX.
Exactly.
But there was no. And again, this point it does matter. There was no sentence. Never did. In his heart, what would he say? He would say that I am a Catholic. He didn't. He would never. He did not.
No, but Matt, no.
But he didn't.
No, you. No.
But then.
No.
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. You can't
give me.
Argument. It's personal.
Well, let me ask you a question. When did this new church officially start?
That's debatable. I like Riff Ruby's idea of Lumen Gentium. I think another interesting idea of when the Pope gave the papal tiara to the Smithsonian. I think that's an interesting idea. I'm not saying that's the case, but intriguing. I think Lumen Gentium makes sense because that's when they officially said that the church consists inside the true church of God, which means it was part of the true church rather than the true church. That makes sense to me as being a legal document that says we are no longer the church. I don't know that. Of course, that's beyond me, but I like that opinion. So I think that definitely could be, which I believe was 1965, something like that. And if that's the case, then that doesn't mean that all the people stop being Catholic. I'm not saying that at all. That's not that simple, of course. But the actual company, I suppose, whatever you want to call it, the base, the people, not the people, but the organization became non-Catholic at that point. And then the people, maybe slowly, progressively, once they started to teach and abrogate the true faith. So Paul VI probably immediately, right? Probably some of the cardinals immediately, boom, gone. They are outside the faith. But most, I imagine, again, personally, my opinion, were not. But someone like Vigano, when he was a child, I'm sure he was Catholic. When he was young, sure. Even a seminarian priest, okay, sure. Once he joined that church and started to teach things.
So what did he join? He would say that he didn't join anything. He would say that he remained the faith that he was born into.
But
and he would.
When did? Are you just saying that Vigano just all of a sudden it was just like boom, a light went on? It's like everything I've been doing for 60 years is wrong. Boom. Was it a St. Paul moment?
Could it have been? I think
that was his conversion back, right? But at some point, Vigano taught.
Right. It's this.
He taught contrary to the faith. It's not like you and me. This is not like. Again, I don't like this. Is not the right argument that we argue for a normal person. Vigano is not normal. He is not normal. He taught.
Right, I agree.
He was part of the hierarchy of the Novus Ordo. He was not Joe Schmo. He was not Matt. Matt can say,
right.
I thought I was Catholic. I tried to be Catholic, and I believe that you're a Catholic, and now you found the truth, and you're still Catholic. You didn't have to make a public, confession or anything. But Vigano taught the actual contrary religion.
Yes.
So absolutely, I think absolutely he should publicly say, guys, I was wrong. I did it. Because if he doesn't, why on earth should we trust him?
And the thing, just to jump back really quick too, is we can always point to these dates. The Lutherans, the Anglicans, the Baptists. There's a specific date because there was a creation of them. But as you said there, and I was in this boat myself, is there's no there won't be an official answer for this Novus Ordo sect. I mean, I agree with you that like if I had to pick a date, like I don't myself even know. I would probably say that when the Vatican II documents, when this new religion was promulgated with the authority of Christ, would be like this is a boom to me. But I don't know if that's a definitive answer, and there isn't one, and there can't be one until there's an actual judgment on, other than my personal opinion.
Right.
And the reason is because there's no one to judge that. There's no the authority of the church would sentence this, but she can't, because it's right. So we don't even really know when. So at one point, did Vigano profess this new Vatican II false religion in 58 and 62 and 65 and 69? There's so much disparity, and people will argue about that for days because there's not an official sentence to look on, and the church needs to weigh her sentences. That is
Do you have a comment on Unicum then, Matt? What do you think
concrete.
that the same groups would say about the Unicum? That's pretty well.
Then I know that's one thing that baffles me is I have to say that I am totally shocked that the Totalists are a bit more lenient with the Unicum than the Thesis are. In my opinion, I would think it would be the inverse, but that's just my opinion. I have asked priests who are Totalists, and they said you can go to the SSPX, and
because it's not defined.
Shocked me, because I thought absolutely to say together with Francis, our Pope, and the canon of the Mass.
But it's not been judged. Don't be hypocritical now, Matt. It's not been officially judged. But I mean, see, so this is my issue with the whole thing. So I think you're totally right. I agree with you. You can't. We don't know because it's not been officially determined, and this is the argument of many people in the Novus Ordo. Who are you guys? You guys don't have.
They're not all the same.
Judgment. Yeah, but many of them say, we don't. You can't say that because there's no official date, there's no official time. But we can logically determine. We can say, look, what they've been teaching is contrary to the Catholic faith, thus it cannot be the Catholic faith. Sorry, real quick. So we cannot say for Vigano. I would never say Vigano was never Catholic. Vigano is going to hell. I don't know. That is absolutely unjudgeable besides by God. What I think we can say is that Vigano was a member of a church, which all of us agree is not the Catholic Church. And if it's not the Catholic Church, then it is from the devil. That's dogma. If it's outside the church, then it is absolutely not for the individual who thinks they're Catholic, but those who are part of that church, the church that comes from the devil. It's the ape church. We don't call it the ape church because it's cute. It's the ape church because it is satanic. So if it's satanic and Bergoglio too, but Vigano is part of that for 60 years, and we're just, and I'm not judging. Maybe he was always good, well-intentioned, but okay, fine. But then we're just supposed to all of a sudden accept like, oh yeah, what a hero. Or Bergoglio changes, and the next day, all hail Pope Francis. No, how could we possibly do that? You can't do that one day. It's not been judged, so we do need a true Pope. But how can we logically just accept it one day to the next because Matt or a bishop or a priest say that we should?
Here's a question. Can Bishop Pivarunis or Sandbrook, can they excommunicate you or me?
No.
Why not?
They don't have the authority of Rome.
Right. They have no authority to govern the church. So we are in a total, and that's one thing that both sides agree on, is that they'll say we have no authority to govern the church. We are really here sacramentally. We provide the sacraments. We say mass, hear confessions. We ordain priests if we're bishops. It's really it. They cannot command the church. So they, even in saying that, they recognize that there is a juridical canonical structure that is somehow, some way has to be maintained. And if that is entirely lost, then we are in massive trouble, because the church has to not only have a pope, but has to legally recover her head. None of these men have a legal authority to do that.
You got to look at Bishop Carmona. He has an answer to that. There is, in canon law is written to support the church. If canon law cannot work because it does not make sense to work, then it does not need to work. And again, I don't know the exact quote. Someone go Google that. Bishop Carmona has a beautiful letter about it. Canon law does not have to be followed if canon law doesn't make sense anymore. Canon law is meant to work when the church has a structure to work. Imagine Matt saying it makes sense like this. If we had atomic bombs blow up all over the world or whatever, and a lot of people die, so obviously you don't have the court system. you know, you don't have the court system. It's all gone. There's no judges. There's no more, you know, and then someone comes and says, well, you know, you're not allowed to do this anymore because the law says that you may not do this. It's like, well, there's no more, it's gone. That type of law. I mean, you can base it off of the Ten Commandments and moral law, you know, common law, whatever, but you can't base it on what the Americans once upon a time said was law, because that's gone, because society no longer exists. And it's the same with the Catholic Church. And I know that's a very, people are going to probably be freaking out about that, but it just makes sense. Canon law is not meant to be like, this law was written and so it is forever. It's not even literally how it's framed.
Right, but it would, but Pius XII did make it clear that the only electors on this earth are the cardinals, and so I think right. He did say that in the 40s or whatever, that might, in the early 50s, but that's where we're at, and there's no other legal means to do it, because I mean, I know what your point is. What you're getting at there is like, well, what happens if this disaster strikes? What happens if this disaster strikes? Then what? Even at the time, that was understood, though, that the men who could fill in had ordinary jurisdiction. That somehow, men have ordinary jurisdiction to be able to do that. There's no state of a Condiscordia who has that. Yeah, but you know, we're in
this is my point, though.
None of them have any claim to an office whatsoever.
Yeah, but my point is, okay, but are they not Catholic bishops who have some sort of jurisdiction and power?
Oh, absolutely. But not over a diocese.
Not officially, because the dioceses don't exist. Matt, the Catholic Church was atomic bombed, right?
Yes.
We all agree with that.
I agree that only a shell remained
until almost no one was existing. So the canonical structure is gone. It's gone. It's absolutely blown to smithereens. So the fact that we try to construct all of these ideas based on canonical jurisdiction or based on what it once was in 1940 I don't think that makes sense. The church, we know the church, what happened in the times of the apostles? You know, what happened in the time before the 1300s, before it was the cardinals? I think it was the 1300s. So this is the rule since then, but it's not, I don't think it's like, if the cardinals are all gone, end of the world, you know? No, it doesn't cease to. I don't buy that. I think that the church must continue to exist. We know that by Christ's promise, and there must be a way to get a pope. We know that.
But I think one thing too is she has to be visible in a hierarchical structure. If we go left and right and just look, well, this bishop here, he's ordained, he has holy orders. This priest here has the same faith as me. We're a horizontal church that more so parallels the Orthodox than a hierarchical church like the Catholics. That structure somehow, some way has to be maintained. And I think you would agree with me that all of our institutions, you know, you go to St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, they still exist. And I'm not calling the visibility of the church something that you could see in terms of like, oh, there's a building, let me touch on it and sit in it. But our sees have been usurped. They still exist. The offices of bishops and all of that, all across the country and all across the world, they're still there. In a sense that like the offices still exist, the buildings still exist, the chairs still exist. They're still somewhat, some way. The Vatican, St. Peter's Basilica, and St. John, they're not flattened. They're still there. But non-Catholics occupy those seats.
I disagree. It's
but
gone.
Those buildings are still there, right? They're still there. St. Peter's it's still there.
Matt, have you gone to a Novus Ordo church? I'm sure you have. So
many,
I'm sure you've
many
gone
times.
to a cathedral. Yeah, exactly. So you've gone to. I've been to Notre Dame. That's a great example in Paris. And Notre Dame is a wonderful cathedral that was very Catholic. And I've been inside, and I can tell you, before it burnt down, I've been inside, and
which was not an accident, by the way.
No, that's not. and absolutely, I did not feel like it was a Catholic church anymore. I walked in, and it was like, no.
Well, right. No, I agree there.
So my point is, just because there are buildings,
St. Patrick's in New York City,
and I mean these positions that we say that they exist,
but these are our buildings, though. These are our yes,
right
but
now,
they are.
Who holds the authority over the people of our Catholic Church? If you had right now, you had to have something answered. You're.
There's no one to appeal to.
Something to say. I have
there's no one.
This moral answer.
There's no one. There's no judge.
No, I'm not saying a judge. Who do you go to? I have this moral dilemma. Oh, I got to email Cardinal Burke. I have to email Cardinal Burke. I have to.
No, because he does not have.
Judge. Matt, just
he doesn't have the authority to do that.
Common sense. I'm sorry, but it's like this idea of it's nice because he holds the position.
Yeah, but so when you,
it's a name. It's a name. It's a nice idea. It doesn't actually exist. If I have a moral problem, a big one, let's say a big moral problem, whatever it is, I would go to Bishop McGuire, Pivaruna, Sanborn, or somebody. I would not go to Bishop Vigano.
But if you went to Notre Dame, is there going to be, as you've been in Paris, is there a sign that says this is a Novus Ordo church founded in 1969? No, it's going to say this is a Catholic church of 2,000 years worth of faith, because that is what legally it professes and believes. And these are our structures. These belong to us. Now, I agree with you that non-Catholic men have usurped these sees and all of that, and live in them and exercise so-called authority in them. But those buildings, they're called Catholic for a reason. They're not called anything else. They didn't become. It's like there's those churches in London that were Catholic and now they're Anglican, right? There's no canonical cutoff. They call themselves Catholic. They say so-called Catholic Mass. They say their liturgy together with the Pope, who they acknowledge to be the Supreme Pontiff. I think that can't be ignored. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a massive issue there, and these men, Bergoglio is the height of it. They profess a non-Catholic religion, and to say your Mass united to Bergoglio is to profess the non-Catholic religion he professes. Yes, before God, yes, but canonically, juridically, before the Church, there's no cutoff. And an example that I could make really quick to kind of point this out is if you have a child and the child's baptized, and the priest pours water over the child's head and says abracadabra, and then fills out a baptismal certificate, what position are we in here? The child is not baptized. Before God, the child is a heathen. The child is not baptized with water. The sacrament was invalid. The priest did not say the matter in form. But there's a certificate and I think actually Bishop Sanborn brought this up to you, Kevin, in the show that he did with you before. And that child has a baptismal certificate. That child can go to confession, communion, receive holy orders, get married, all invalidly. But there's a law that says, yes, by church law, this child was baptized. So we distinguish before God, who's not baptized, and before the church that says, yes, this child is baptized. So yeah, before God, these churches, these men, they're not Catholic. They've abandoned the Catholic faith and they profess a new religion. But legally, in that baptismal document, there's nothing that says this person joined a sentenced sect on this date. They claim to be Catholic. And I think even if you think today, there are probably women in Novus Ordo pews who were born in the 1930s, if they're still walking and mobile at this point in their lives, who they would say, I've been Catholic my whole life. And from my youth, I professed the Catholic faith, and I followed Pius the 11th, the 12th, John Paul, all of them. And I have never left. And there's something to say to that. Maybe before God, they now profess a new false religion, but in their hearts, in their will, they say, I have never left the Catholic Church. I was born under Pius the 11th, and I'm here under Francis, and I have never left the Catholic faith. They might profess something new, and they might profess devotions that are false and go to a non-Catholic. Yeah, but there's something to say about that, though. That if you were to say you left the church, and they would say, when? How? I've been going to the same church for 80 years, and I've never left
the personal. You can't. The person is that's the interior judgment, as you said. That's the interior. That is God judges that. Like what was their intention? Did they mean to be?
So here's actually. Go ahead.
If someone juridically, Matt, if Archbishop Vigano came to you and said, Matthew, I determine you to be non-Catholic. From now, you are damned.
He doesn't have the authority.
But yes. Seriously, I know it's funny, but seriously, and if Bishop Sanborn did the exact same and said the same thing, would you feel equally in trouble? Would you feel equally judged, condemned? What would you feel if Bishop Sanborn says, it's whoever, Matthew, you are outside the church now, and Bergoglio said it? Would you feel the same?
There would be two totally different things. If Bishop Sanborn said, yeah, right, and who would have Bergoglio would have more weight than Sanborn would
if he said it to you.
Yes.
What? So, yes,
of course.
Are you serious? If Bergoglio came to me and said, "Kevin Davis, you are now outside the church," I'd be like,
"That's an official,
high five, bro. Bring it on." Yeah.
Yes, but that is an official declaration from the Vatican. Whether you like it or not, it's coming. Right. But it's still if Bishop Sanborn were to say that, I would shrug my shoulders and say, "Okay, he can't stop me from doing anything."
Well, I mean, yeah, okay, if you're saying officially, but Wow. See, that's surprising to me. I mean, if Bishop Sanborn said it to me, and I've had some pretty harsh things from some of the Bishop Sanborn priests, let's just say that. Not quite that harsh, but pretty harsh. But and honestly, it does affect me, and it hurts me because it's like, wow, I take that very seriously because I really value them. I value them as true priests, true bishops, and I value them as the authority that I have. And I know it's not the true Catholic authority as we should have it, but they are the authority. They are the ones who can actually say, by God's grace and by their orders, can say, hey, you can't do this. Now, they cannot officially excommunicate it, but I would take that a lot more seriously than if Bergoglio, who's a clown, he's not even validly ordained, which no one denies, and he just says, hey, you're excommunicated. Okay, good for you. I don't care. I mean, I literally, I would very legitimately.
Oh, I would welcome the sentence, sure, and I would love to sign it. And
but what does excommunication mean?
It would hold the juridical
weight. You are outside
weight.
the church. Right at that moment, you are damned for eternity. You are damned. You are going to hell.
Bishop Sanborn can't. What would he? How could he can't do that? There's nothing for him to say. It would be nothing more than an opinion. But with Bergoglio, it would be a canonically lawful sentence.
And Vigano right now, canonically, is damned.
Canonically, has committed the crime of schism, which is
separate it. You can't say.
Of course, they can, because I would say that Bergoglio doesn't have the authority
canonically, but not.
Yes, because Bergoglio doesn't. He's a false pope with false authority. He's a false pope with false authority. No, he doesn't. No. I'm not saying he has. I'm not saying he has the authority to. Maybe I'm misunderstood. I'm not saying he has the authority to declare you outside of the Holy Roman Catholic Church lawfully. No, but that sentence. There's at least something to say about the process of the canonical courts and all of that. Bishop Sanborn saying that to me would be nothing more than probably a tweet.
I would take it a lot
Francis
more
can legislate it.
Sanborn said it than Bergoglio. What does Bergoglio have to say that you're damned? He is the leader of a false church.
I think it would be two contrary remarks. I mean, again, Sanborn would have no authority to declare me outside of the church. But
you're right.
I would ask him, like, I mean, if he were to say that to me. Of course, I would ask him, well, what am I doing? How can I rectify this? That would be my response would be different. My response would be, well, then what am I doing wrong? How can I be certain that I am in this mystical body of Christ? And anything Bishop Sanborn has to say to me, I would certainly bow my head and listen with utmost silence. And I'm not saying otherwise. Bergoglio I would laugh at. But the angle of my argument is that even though it's a false church and an imposter church and all of that, canonical courts in Rome have issued a definitive sentence from their end. Now it's a badge of honor, and I think Vigano himself said it's a badge of honor. Sure, that's great, wonderful. I'll take two. There's a difference, and actually, I wanted to jump back really quick too because we kind of went on a different point, but. And your answer to this, I don't mind. I take no offense whatsoever. So go ahead. But my great grandmother died in 1970, so just a year after the everything was passed and all of that. They came to America and whatever. And they moved to this church that my grandmother went to. My great grandmother, went to 7 days a week, Monday through. They lived across the street, so 7 days a week she went to this church and sat in this probably the same pew and was very good friends. I believe his name is Father Shea. I could be wrong, but was very good friends with the priest and cooked him dinner as any Italian nonny would. No carnivore diet there, I can assure you. And she did that her whole life. And there are people who would say, goes at what point if my grandmother from great grandmother, I keep saying grandmother, 1930 something to 1970 sat in the same exact pew every single day, when did she leave the church? And the people who are in that, no, because there's no way to prove anything other than that.
No, but that's,
what I mean?
But that's not the question. And again, Bishop Sanborn says that over and over. It's not the personal heresies. In a heresy has to be something public anyway. So a heresy is not something that's like, hey, I hold this. If you are someone who's baptized and truly believe you're a Catholic and follow the Catholic teaching, I have no doubt your grandma at least was on the right path. I don't know. I'm no judge. I'm not God, but I would never, ever, ever say that someone like that. I wouldn't say someone now. I think the SSPX has more to answer for than some old lady sitting in the Novus Ordo church.
I completely agree with that.
The Novus Ordo right now, they're truly saying, I'm baptized, I'm just trying to be Catholic, la, 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 la. And honestly, I get it. I think they're wrong, but I get it. I totally understand that. And I wouldn't judge that. I would say, I would, if I got the chance, I'd say, hey, the Pope can't err, etc. Of course, I'd try if I had the chance, but I would absolutely not say, in my opinion, that your grandmother did anything wrong, especially back in the 1970s.
Great grandmother.
Sorry, back in the 70s, of course not. I mean, I don't blame Archbishop Lefebvre for not, proclaiming Sede Vacante. I really don't, because I think it was a much different story back in the day. But I think now, again, and I'm not saying Vigano is not, on the right path, but my point is that it's kind of, you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, no one can judge it, but if they teach it, then that is what makes them ipso facto outside the church. That is what Bishop Sanborn says. And you can't say that and then say Vigano is all of a sudden this hero. It just doesn't make sense.
But here's the question that really stood out to me once before as well. So when I totally embraced and accepted that the church was in a theological position of Sede Vacante, I did not have to make an abjuration of error. And people who have come into the position at my chapel even have left Anglicanism, Lutheranism, and they have had to make one. And the reason, I think there's that underlying understanding of, because in a certain juridical sense, I never left. And I think that has weight to it. Do you know what I mean? There's no abjuration of error from somebody who leaves the Novus Ordo and becomes a Sede Vacantist, because in their hearts, anyway, we hope that they truly professed and meant to be Catholic, and they never say, I left the Catholic faith and I joined a Lutheran church. They always said they were Catholic.
Yeah, but Matt,
and there's weight to that, because it matters. Because it has to matter.
You're arguing a different point than I'm arguing. The individual is not the argument. I don't argue that. That's not the same thing. You versus Vigano is different. You or whoever else, your great grandmother, they believe.
I agree.
They don't have to abjure it. Vigano taught it. That is the actual teaching of Bishop Sanborn. So if you teach,
I agree with you.
That's what
I agree.
Ipso facto makes you outside the church. That's what he says. That's what ipso facto excommunicates you from the actual church. And so you can't just say these things and then say all of a sudden someone who was one of these teachers is just acceptable because he's like Joe Schmo. He's like Matt. He's not. That's not how it works. You cannot have it both ways. You have to be consistent. This is not how it works. If someone was a part of the hierarchy, we at least have to be cautious and say, Father Vigano, Bishop Vigano, Archbishop Vigano, whatever we want to call him, whatever he actually is by law, we need to say, hey, please, for everyone's sake, can you abjure your errors? Because they were errors in terms of teaching in the Novus Ordo Church.
Yes.
He should abjure. You not. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know these things officially.
Sure.
As we act right now, you wouldn't. I think he has to, because he was part of the actual hierarchy of the Novus Ordo Church. He should abjure. He should say,
I know that.
Look, I should never have done any of this. I'm really sorry. And then maybe we can definitely at least consider saying, okay, fair enough.
I know there are a lot of people who are calling on him again to reveal your conditional ordination, which he seems to be silent on.
I have inside information on that, Matt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
After we hang up.
I actually legitimately do. I actually know if he was or was not consecrated.
Oh, really?
Yes. I don't want to tell you publicly.
I just don't know. That's fine. I think it would open up a whole can of worms if he, what does he care anymore? Maybe he'll declare it now, but he has to. Bishop Sanborn again mentioned for like the fifth time, like, you've got to publicly say this. And there are people who are calling him to say mass in St. Peter's, non unicum, because again, he has that juridical power to be in Rome. I mean, now who knows? But that would be quite something. I know it's funny because there are some people, this has really caused a rupture, because there are some people who are saying this is all silly, this is all right, whatever, this is just a little blip in our radar, and then there are other people who are saying this is the beginning of the end of Vatican II. There's a real big right, there's a real big rupture. And I think one thing, and Bishop Sanborn pointed this out, and I think it was great, is that Archbishop Lefebvre got excommunicated for consecrating bishops. That was the height of it. He was not punished for denouncing Vatican II or for anything like that. Vigano was. So I think there's a big staunch difference there, and I think Vigano is a bit bigger in his step than Lefebvre was. But we'll see. I think that this is the beginning of the end of Vatican II, as a lot of Thesis clergy seem to think. I personally, who am I to say? But I think not really. No, I don't really see this being much more than a little blip in history, because Vigano tweeted, he said, I call on my fellow clergymen to join with me and to cry out, or else the stones will. I think he tweeted that, or X'd it, or whatever you would even say nowadays. And I don't think there's really anybody else that's going to join him here. Burke, Sarah, anyone who has a little quote unquote hope is entrenched in the Vatican II religion, and they just see a more conservative side of it. Vigano has called Vatican II a cancer, evil, a robber council. He has used these terms, which the other ones have not. So I think he's just a little blip in the radar. Bergoglio, shoot him away, and now you're out of my. I don't see myself anything more coming of it, but we'll see. I don't think this crisis is going to last forever. Maybe it is the beginning of something. I don't know. God works in His time, and
yeah, and I think that if he and I respect what he's done, and again, I don't mean to be this.
I think it's brave.
It's brave, and I think he could be a hero, but he's not right now. We just have to pump the brakes, and that's so I talked with Father McKenna, and I know some people didn't like it, but just calm down a little bit. He has to finish. He has to abjure. He has to say, I was wrong. Not just Vatican II was wrong. Not just Bergoglio is this terrible person. Vigano, I was wrong. I was a member of this for 60 years, and I was wrong. And if he does that, I tell you, Matt will have another show, and I will feel.
There's something to say. I agree with you. There's something to say. Of course,
if he does that, man, I tell you, I'm going to feel. Then I will absolutely be like, hey, here we go. Let's go. Come on, let's. And I'm not saying, because he doesn't actually work for the Thesis, because he doesn't. I don't think he actually has any canonical power, especially when he's excommunicated. He has 0, so he doesn't help the Thesis at all, except for in terms of momentum. And that I'm a game. Hey, anybody. I mean, I've said this for a long time. If it's Taylor Marshall, if it's Jordan Peterson, if it's Vigano, if they just proclaim in one tweet or whatever and say, I am a Saint of a contest, that's a huge win. And I will take that every day of the week.
And they seem to have not done that.
And say, Vigano, please, are you consecrated, first of all? And just tell us for sure you're sorry that you were a member of this false sect for 60 years. And if he does that, hey, great and good for him, and we should pray for it. Absolutely pray for him, Father Vigano, Bishop Vigano, whatever he is, I suppose. Let's pray for him. Matt, I appreciate it. We've gone long today. I enjoyed it, and I really truly did enjoy it. And sorry, guys, I know I get loud. It's just once I get really loud. I apologize, everybody. But no, seriously though, man, I appreciate it. And I hope everyone sees, again, we can disagree on these things. I don't agree with Bishop Sanborn and everything. I don't agree with a lot of people on a lot of things. And who cares? First of all, I'm wrong about a lot. So, it doesn't matter. And I think we need to remember that we are all in this together. We are all absolutely Catholic, and we're all trying to do our best. Bishop Sanborn, Bishop Pervunis, Bishop McGuire, etc. We're just trying to be Catholic and try to find an answer. And I definitely respect that from Bishop Sanborn. I appreciate their optimism. I don't agree with everything he said. I thought he was too optimistic, but I appreciate the mindset of, hey, maybe this is the thing. And Matt, I certainly hope that he is right, that it is the big thing. I don't think it is, but I hope he's right, and I hope I'm wrong. Anyway, Matt, it's been fun. I appreciate it. We'll definitely be. I think we'll be back next. Are we going to be back next week, man?
Yeah, why not?
All right, we're not. See, guys, we're not fighting.
Maybe we'll be excommunicated. Maybe somebody else will be excommunicated.
Exactly. You never know. By now, it really could. It really is. Boy, politics, church stuff, man. Talk about a lot of stuff to talk about. It's fun.
It's an exciting time. Joe Biden's next.
He should be excommunicated. That's a good point. He definitely should. He's going to drop out, I think, this week. Actually,
I don't think he's dropping. No, he's staying in this race.
Yeah, I spoke too soon. It's like either he's going to drop out.
He's going to beat Trump in 2020, according to him. He did say that.
Oh, our beautiful president.
They asked him if he watched the debate back since, and he said he doesn't remember.
Oh yeah. Well, we may never know what happens in the church.
We might never know.
We're gonna have nuclear war. I think. Certainly possible. Everyone, definitely thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Comment. Let us know what your thoughts are. be nice in the comment section, please. Again, you're definitely feel free to agree with me, disagree with me, agree with Matt, etc. We're totally fine with that. We're okay with having different opinions. And also, guys, let me know. We actually just ordered our first ever Catholic Family Podcast mugs. Matt's going to get one here pretty soon.
Oh.
They're going to be shipped out for our contributors and top sponsors. Anyone who wants one, you're going to have to pay for it if you're not a contributor or top sponsor. So let me know, kevin89davis@gmail.com. You'll have to send me your address. And I don't know, it's going to be probably $10 each or something like that. I'll have to see after the shipping. Matt gets one for free because he's my boy. Matt's my boy. Matt, I appreciate it. Until next week, I'll see you. Take it easy. Don't eat too many hot dogs. Don't eat too much pasta, I guess.
I won't.